Good morning, and welcome to Blue Mountain Morning. I'm Mark, joined as always by my friend Alex. It's Thursday, March 20th, and the sunrise reminds us that each day brings new possibilities.
Oh my God, yes! Another beautiful day to embrace the chaos and find our center in it. I've already had 3 coffees, and I'm ready to help our listeners navigate the morning madness with a little slice of calm. Aren't mornings just absolutely magical, Mark?
They certainly are, Alex. Let's take this journey together, friends, and transform the noise of the day into moments of clarity and connection. Now it's time for today's Horizon, where we break down the most important headlines of the day. And there's quite a bit happening, so let's jump right in.
Oh my God, Mark, have you seen this Greenpeace verdict? It's wild. They got slammed with a $660 million defamation verdict. $660 million.
That's right, Alex. A North Dakota jury has found Greenpeace liable for defamation and ordered the environmental group to pay more than $660 million in damages to an oil company. This stems from Greenpeace's role in the protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline near the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation.
But wait, didn't thousands of people show up to those protests? How is Greenpeace responsible for all of that?
That's exactly Greenpeace's argument. They've maintained that they didn't lead the demonstrations and that the protests were primarily organized by local indigenous leaders opposed to the pipeline. They're saying this lawsuit threatens free speech, and they've already announced plans to appeal.
I read they might go bankrupt over this. After like 50 years of environmental activism, that's completely bonkers.
It's certainly a significant verdict with potentially far-reaching implications. Speaking of significant developments, President Trump is expected to sign a long-anticipated executive order today.
Oh, is this the Department of Education thing? Because my Twitter feed is exploding with that news.
Yes, according to a White House summary, the president will sign an executive order aimed at shutting down the Department of Education, fulfilling one of his key campaign promises.
But wait, can he just do that? Just shut down a whole department?
Well, that's being contested right now. A group of Democratic state attorneys general has already filed a lawsuit seeking to block the move and halt the layoffs of nearly half the department's staff that were announced last week.
This administration is moving so fast, it's giving me whiplash.
And in related news, the White House has intensified its criticism of federal judges this week, specifically calling out what they describe as activist judges and urging the Supreme Court to rein them in.
Let me guess, these are judges who've ruled against the administration's policies.
Precisely. This comes as President Trump and his allies have escalated their attacks against judges who have issued rulings challenging various administration actions. Legal experts note this is creating significant tension between the executive branch and the judiciary.
It's like a high-stakes government chess match, but with real people's lives in the balance. My anxiety is through the roof.
And that's why we're here, to help break it down and find that moment of clarity in the midst of it all. That's our look at today's Horizon.
All right, Mark, can we talk about something that's been absolutely freaking me out lately? I applied for a job last week and got this automated email saying an AI would be reviewing my resume before any human would even look at it. Is this the future now? Are robots deciding our fate?
You're touching on something really significant, Alex. AI is indeed transforming the hiring landscape dramatically. Many companies now use AI-powered tools to screen resumes, conduct initial interviews, and even assess personality traits through video analysis.
So you're telling me a computer algorithm is deciding if I'm worthy of a job interview? That's horrifying. What if it doesn't like my font choice or something ridiculous like that?
Well, it's actually more sophisticated than font preferences, but your concern hits on a real issue. These systems are trained on historical hiring data, which can perpetuate existing biases. If a company historically hired a certain type of candidate, the AI might inadvertently favor similar profiles.
Wait, so if tech companies historically hired young white guys from Stanford, then the AI might keep doing that? That's not progress. That's just automating discrimination.
That's the concern many experts have raised. A 2021 Harvard Business School study found that these automated systems often reject qualified candidates who don't fit traditional parameters. For instance, candidates with employment gaps, often women who took time for caregiving, might be automatically filtered out.
Oh my God. So if you took time off to care for a sick parent or raise kids, some algorithm might just toss your resume in the digital trash? That's insane.
It highlights why algorithmic transparency is becoming such an important issue. Several states, including Illinois and Maryland, have actually passed laws requiring companies to disclose when they use AI in hiring and to audit these systems for bias.
But what about the interview stage? I've heard horror stories about AI video interviews where they analyze your facial expressions and voice tone like, what if I'm just nervous and the algorithm thinks I'm lying?
Those concerns are valid. Companies like HireVue use AI to analyze candidates' facial expressions, word choice, and speaking patterns. They claim this reduces human bias, but critics argue it creates new forms of discrimination, especially against neurodivergent candidates or those from different cultural backgrounds.
So what are we supposed to do? Should we all be taking courses in how to please the algorithm overlords now?
There is definitely a growing industry around helping job seekers optimize their applications for AI systems, using specific keywords and formatting. But more importantly, we're seeing a shift in what skills matter most in this automated landscape.
Let me guess, coding and robot maintenance, right? Just becoming one with the machines?
Technical skills certainly remain valuable, but what's becoming increasingly important are uniquely human capabilities. Creative thinking, emotional intelligence, ethical judgment, cross-cultural communication. These are areas where AI still falls dramatically short.
So basically, be more human to avoid being replaced by the robots? That's actually kind of reassuring.
Exactly, and companies are catching on. Amazon, for example, recently scaled back some of their automated hiring tools after discovering they were inadvertently discriminating against women. Google has invested in what they call human-centered AI for recruitment that keeps people in the decision loop.
But wait, what about the people who don't have access to this information? If you don't know you need to game the AI system, you're at an even bigger disadvantage, right?
That's a critical point about digital literacy and access. The National Urban League has been advocating for greater transparency in automated hiring, particularly because studies show these systems can disproportionately screen out candidates from underrepresented communities.
This feels like it's creating a new class divide based on who understands the technology and who doesn't. That's terrifying.
It underscores why we need better regulation and standards. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission issued guidance last year on how AI hiring tools might violate civil rights laws, and there's growing momentum for algorithmic accountability laws.
So basically, we're living through this massive experiment in automated hiring, and nobody really knows how it's going to play out?
That's a fair assessment. We're at an inflection point where the technology is evolving faster than our social and legal frameworks. But if there's a silver lining, it's that this conversation is happening now, before these systems become completely ubiquitous.
Well, I'm definitely updating my resume with whatever keywords these robots want. Synergy, blockchain, disruptive innovation. Will that work?
It might catch an algorithm's attention, but remember, eventually you'll need to impress actual humans too. The most successful candidates will be those who can navigate both worlds, the automated screening systems, and the human elements of work that will remain essential. Before we wrap up today, I'd like to take us to a quiet moment of reflection. Have you ever noticed how trees respond to wind? They don't fight against it, they bend.
I've never really thought about it that way. They just kind of go with it?
Exactly. The strongest trees have deep roots but flexible branches. They've learned that rigidity breaks while flexibility endures. When storms come, they don't resist, they dance.
That's actually surprisingly calming to think about.
We could all learn something from this natural wisdom. Sometimes our greatest strength isn't in standing firm against every challenge, but in knowing when to bend, adapt, and flow with what life brings us.
So basically, be less like a concrete wall and more like a willow tree?
Yes, and remember that bending isn't the same as breaking. It's simply acknowledging that change is the only constant, and our ability to sway with life's winds without losing our roots might be our most valuable skill. And that brings us to the end of today's Blue Mountain Morning. Thanks for sharing this peaceful moment with us.
If you enjoyed starting your day with us, why not spread that calm morning energy? Tell your friends and family about the podcast.
We'd love to hear from you too. Send us an email at bluemountainmorningpodcast@gmail.com for a shout out on our next episode.
Join us again tomorrow morning for another cup of clarity to start your day. Until then, stay grounded.